Hello, dear seekers, and welcome back to Mind, Body, and Heart Tarot Therapy. So, we have a full moon in Aries on the 13th of October 2019 coming in, and I'm here to do the reading for that particular full moon. Um, I put up the readings for October for each and every sign. So, this is a collective reading, this is a reading for the collective for all signs. It's just about like really getting into the energies and trying to feel through them and hopefully get some guidance of how to work with that. I've pre-shuffled the cards already, so yeah, it's a general reading. If it resonates, it resonates, and if it doesn't, then it's just not your reading. Don't try to fit it in. Yeah, so do check out the astrological reports. It seems to be, I don't know, I already feel it building up quite intense. Aries is a fire sign and is about I am, is the first sign in the, is the first house, yes, the first sign in the zodiac. And it's ruled by Mars. It's that whole very fiery, strong energy, very assertive, very, it can be, there's a lot of beauty and grace in it, but it can also be quite destructive. And we, as most of you know already, like Pluto is coming out of the retrograde, and at the moment of this full moon is going to be like 20 degrees of Capricorn, squaring this moon in Aries. And yeah, this conversation that brings up, square is always talk about challenges between these archetypes, right? And Pluto is about transformation, and it's been retrograde in Capricorn. It means like all the traits of the Capricorn and all the traits of Pluto kind of like merged together, and there were some very deep lessons that we've learned about ourselves during this retrograde period. Now it's coming direct, and we're kind of like bringing this on the table, taking the lessons that we learned in this whole long retrograde and starting to apply them sort of in life, in our daily life. And we have this direct conversation with the full moon in Aries, where Aries talks about, who am I am in a rather assertive way. Yes, so this can get quite intense. Both Pluto and Mars have this destructive side. So um, Pluto is ruler of the underworld, and Aries is the warrior. So we can easily become very intense, and we can go into those parts of like those of us that have those more like prevalent self-destructive patterns really might feel triggering, and do a lot of self-care and pause a lot and be present with what's happening if you can do that. Okay, there we go. We're just talking about this. So we have the Five of Wands as the first card that came out. This is like the current energy. It's a very feisty energy. It's a very, as I was talking, it's a square. It's a square between, yeah, also the dark side of Capricorn in a sense. As Pluto has been retrograde in Capricorn, Pluto is going to be now direct in Capricorn. And the dark side of Capricorn is over controlling, is very traditional, but traditional to a fault, when it becomes detrimental. Let's see what's going to be the challenge for us as a collective. There is this full moon. Okay, so yeah, it's the Nine of Wands. Nine of Wands talks about the wounded warrior. And I see this fight coming up here with the Five of Wands. But we can doesn't necessarily need to be destructive. The Five of Wands can be a friendly competition. So very important, like how we keep this energy. But this is like we might get triggered in this like challenge. Might get triggered where our wounds are most fresh and most deep, and where we get over defensive, where we get those things that we've been carrying with us for a very long time, and we erase such a huge shield around them that we barely have access to them ourselves. Okay, we're gonna go deeper into that. Let's see what is the focus. What's the focus for us as a collective during this new moon, full moon in Aries. Okay. All right, so there's a lot of wands energy here. No wonder with the full moon in Aries, which is a fire sign. Okay, so we have the King of Wands as our focus. King of Wands talks about being fully confident, being oneself. The action that we put in the world is a very action focused energy. Also, kings talk about they come from mm, yes, sorry, I'm lacking the word right now, but never mind. If it's important, I'm gonna come back. But yeah, that's a good focus to have. Like, who am I? What am I? What are my actions into the world? How are my actions actually maybe reflecting my who I think I am or how I relate to myself? Okay, this is our advice, the Emperor. So this is actually Aries energy. This can be as well, but can be usually think more of Leo, but it is fire sign. But the Emperor is Aries energy. So talks about especially about structure, about the way again how we um, structure the where we put our energy, the time that we spend, the actions that we take, the plans that we make, the routine, everything. The star almost came out but didn't. We have two cards for the future energy, which is the Five of Pentacles and Ace of Wands. All right. Five of Pentacles obviously talks about where we feel that we failed ourselves in some senses, where we feel isolated, where we feel this strong energy of scarcity, where we feel that we've been abandoned, we've been left out in the cold. With the Ace of Wands here, I feel like this is something gets illuminated here. Because the Five of Pentacles also talks a lot about that this energy of scarcity is in a sense of an illusion because there is help available. See, these two people actually passed by a church where they could go in to warm up from the cold and get food and everything, but they need to ask for help and they need to be aware that help is available. And I think this is what gets illuminated with us. Like, how can we learn to accept help? How can we learn to ask for help when it's needed? And how to come out of this place for those of us that had been like in this energy a lot, and this is not an easy energy to be in. It's not at all. And it's like one of the hardest one to come out of on oneself, by oneself. But this is the lesson, right? This is always the lesson. Like, we're also in the Libra season, so this Aries full moon, think about the axis between Aries and Libra. Aries talks about I am who I am, what am I doing, how am I putting myself into the world, and Libra talks a lot about relationship and balancing things up. And yeah, this is another way we learn how to relate with other people. This can be a way, and by the way, there are two fives here. Fives, five is, sorry. Fives talk about growth, but it's an uncomfortable growth because it's right, you just reached like the stability of the fours, and then in order for growth to happen we need to move on to the next step, but it's not a huge movement, it's just like scanning the ground around us. The four of pentacles is dude that's very very stingy. He's like so attached to the few belongings that he has. He holds on to them for the life of his. Okay, let's clarify. First of all, let's see what's on the bottom of the deck. Okay, so with all this fire energy, the mind's supposed to be we really need to give our mind a rest because it's so damn easy to get really panicked with all this energy coming out. There's conflict, there's wounded, there's triggers, there's things that we need to do, and we get triggered right where it hurts the most. Therefore, the mind can easily go into story after story after story of why everything is like wrong in one way or another, and we want to change this. But that's not what we're being called to do in this moon. We are called to rest our mind and really feel through this. Okay, let's clarify this card, my loves. It feels a little bit difficult, but it's always an opportunity with these full moons. Things do get illuminated and we can get closer to ourselves. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't even mean to turn this, but look, it just came up. The Nine of Swords. Yes. So this is why it is called. We are being called to really give our mind rest, because we can get into this space of like super anxiety and fear, and the fear of scarcity, of poverty, of lack, fear of conflict, fear of our own wounds of what we carry. Yeah. Okay, sweet. One more five showed up. Five of Swords. To clarify the Five of Wands. Yes. A lot of opportunity. There we go, we're talking about opportunities, and Ace of Pentacles shows up, which is the card of opportunity. Ace of Pentacles talks about opportunities that we need to grasp, but it's an opportunity from the real world. And it's the opportunity for healing. For healing this deep wound that we've been carrying. Like 9 is towards the end of the cycle, That means that, this is like the wounded warrior, but this warrior has been through many battles to get where he is. And when we go through so many battles, we already know, okay, we do this, there's gonna be this result. If I'm doing this vibe, this is going to happen. We get into this know-how, but at the same time can also start missing out on life because we become automatically defensive in certain times, or we're attacking in other times, and so on and so on. We can get stuck in conflict. We can get over defensive and dismissive of anything that might surprise us in the end. Okay, why is the King of Wands here as our focus? Okay, this one seems to show up with the Hermit. So the King of Wands with the Hermit as our focus. So yeah, we're being called to really look. Gonna move this up a little bit. To really look within here. To this is I mean, obviously a healing journey, but it is important to relate to these energies, not from these energies. Connect to that inner space, and for that, we need that alone time. We need to really go within and bring that healing light on the darkest corners, you know. And I find it very poetic when the hermit comes in with the full moon, because that's what the full moon does for us. It brings this light to the darkest corners of our self, of our psyche, of our shadow that we don't really like. And they do show up. This is why full moons tend to be quite intense. And now, which aspect of ourselves gets illuminated depends on the conversations that we're having, generated in terms of the planet. Now we have Aries with Pluto. There's other stuff going on as well, but this is the major conversation, right? Um, yeah. And with the King of Wands and the Hermit here, um, I think the focus is knowing that we can do this, knowing that I have the tools to go in there, having that confidence that, I've been through this shit before and I came out the other way. I don't need to look away. I don't need to push it away. I don't need to try to run from it or delay this process. I can like really go through with it, really go through with it. And that's because I know what I need to do. I know I'm guided here. The hermit is bringing this the star, which actually tried to show up earlier a little bit. So we have its presence. Okay, where's the emperor here as your advice, our advice? Okay, the Queen of Pentacles is not the only way to read it, but I read it a lot as a need for grounding, a need to be truly deeply nurturing with ourselves. And it's a little bit contrast with the Emperor, which is kind of stern and it can be quite intense in a very authoritative way. Do this, let's do that. It's like and he's the emperor. He has an empire to take care of. It doesn't really, it's not gonna stay with each and every individual, talk about their emotions and about their maternal needs and so on. And but the Queen of Pentacles does go very deep. She knows what's valuable. She knows her own value. She knows the value of her time, and she does, like, everything that she does is very well planned. So we were talking about planning, but in a much more um gentle way, really. Yeah, she can be very practical. She has her plan, she has her chores, she does the things, she creates space. She's the good mother. She's like cooking the good food, all that. But at the same time, she does this with from a, not from an inner space. She creates space. The emperor is like action into the world. Do this from who I am. Aries. Okay, Ace of Wands with the Five of Pentacles of Pluto energy. The world. It's about time. Sorry. And bottom of the deck we have Knight of Wands. Okay. Stop with this. Can't see it. It's enough for us to get an idea. So Knight of Wands. Knight of Wands talks about expansion. It's that type of expansion, but this is all like very fiery energy, a lot about our spiritual path, a lot about our passion, what it makes us tick, really. And yeah, about illuminating these darker parts of ourselves that we really don't like and we don't usually accept in our awareness, parts of us that we tend to lock down in a basement and never really look at. But that's where the goal really is actually. The more we can bring like more love and kindness and awareness and investigation into these spaces, and the more we bring real acceptance in that, that's when expansion and growth happens, especially spiritual growth, because that's the personal growth where we know we become more and more of a whole. We become closer and closer um to our deepest self. These, like, we're fragmented. If I don't like when I get competitive, if I don't like when I get vindictive or playing power games, if I don't like when I'm caught maybe in a rather whiny position where I don't see any opportunities, where I don't see any type of choices in front of me, that's when I get stuck. And I don't like these energies, so I'm going to avoid them as much as I can. But these fragments do exist. And if we accept them, we don't need to become that. We don't need to stay in that energy, but observe that it is, and have the awareness of it and the acceptance of it. And okay, yes, I feel a little bit whiny right now, or I see this part of me showing up at this conversation. It's okay. Give permission without having to have a pity party, without having to go and follow that impulse of being like even more competitive or even more aggressive in a sense, and having like these petty little fights over nothing, or you know, we don't need to feed into these energies, but we need to be aware of them, and take a little bit of a rest from trying to rationalize them, or trying to hide them, or trying to change them, or anything of the sort. Really rest your mind. Rest in, it's like that surrender, rest in full acceptance of everything that is. And that's going to bring that type of expansion that the Knight of Wands is talking about. These two here are quite intense. They're quite intense. And they're hard to deal with. I mean, like, no judgment here. I mean, we all get into these energies every once in a while, and many, many times we just don't know how to deal with it. When I get competitive, um, where I get into my ego and I want to assert myself, or feel the need to put someone down so I can go up in my own eyes, or these really, really like fights that go over and over and over again and nothing really changes. We can get there, no matter how many moments of deep enlightenment we had. Every once in a while we can have them, but can also go back into this that there's that saying, like, okay, you think you're enlightened, go spend some time with your family, or with your wife's family. I don't know, wife or husband or whatever. But these energies get much more fuel when we are trying to push them away on where we feed into them. So that's what I was trying to say earlier. Having this as your advice, the structure and the nurturing energies, right? Like, get into that, find the highest vibrations of this energy, and find your own inner authority here, and find the nurturing mother within you, and connect to these energies from that place. Relate to this energy from that place. When you see the ego showing up and the mind freaking out, and and that it needs to grow, so how do I grow? Yeah, I pick up a fight with this one. um be kind to this. When you notice this, when you notice this feisty, aggressive energy, which is very normal, as I said, with a very serious square going on, and it's not going to be an easy one. So we were prompt to be get more, mm, more triggered. And these are very simple reactions of when we get triggered. The nervous system goes into fight or flight mode. This is more like fight mode. And in this Aries full moon, we all might feel more like into the fight mode rather in the flight mode, where we really feel like we can say everything that needed to be said for the last year that we didn't say, or so on. mm, do not feed into that. Do observe it, accept it, stay with it. Do whatever practices breath work really can help you slow down the mind and really getting into the body, and also clear out those triggers from your nervous system. Somatic practices of all kinds can be very helpful right now. The Knight of Wands, the Nine of Wands. There's this opportunity again to slow down, to stop for a moment and see, who am I defending myself from, against? Doesn't make sense. Yeah. See, this person here, it's like, look, his bandages on his head, really, and look how, yeah, he may be protected here, but he also lives in complete fear. So we have this opportunity to not have to react in this way. How much freedom we get when we start observing these impulses, but don't really need to act on them. That's very freeing, really. This is the opportunity that we're getting. We're seeing them. We're not going in automatic mode anymore. This is the challenge, though, seeing it, not getting into full defensive or aggressive mode, not turning this into a fight, not turning this into conflict. It is challenging, but it is truly an opportunity. You feel through it. You feel through it yourself. I'm sure most of you must feel it in the air already. This, like, it's not an easy energy that we're being in. Yeah, of course, some of us can be also very good at ignoring it or distracting ourselves. Or it can be that, we all take these energies depending on our charts differently. So for some of us, we may be very comfortable, and obviously, like, you're not in this reading is not for you. It doesn't. I'm not projecting this experience on you. If it resonates for you or not. So it doesn't need to be this way. You may relate differently with this energy. If you're Aries, for example, maybe you might actually be very comfortable, or maybe even more triggered, because there's something that's very intimate of you showing up. Fire signs in general, I think they're gonna be strongly affected in a sense. Capricorns might have also quite a lot of illumination going on in there, with Pluto going direct in Capricorn. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, isn't it? I think it is, yes. So like, everybody can have a different reaction. Some of us can be much more triggered, some of us less. So I'm not prophesizing the apocalypse here. It's just the energy. Focus, King of Wands of the Hermit. We've been through this already. I'm not gonna get too deep into that any longer. We can do this. Hell yeah, we've been here. We've been here so many times that by this point we can see it happening. We have that observing mind developed at this point through the work that we're doing. Everybody in their own way, like, don't need to be necessarily practicing meditation. Some people practice prayer. Some people practice yoga. Some people practice all of that. Some people just, are getting a lot of reflection time and go in nature, and that's their meditation. We all work through our shit one way or another. And many times we feel that there's no progress, but there is. And every time I see these parts of me that I really don't like showing up, now I can I can be confident that I have what I need to cope with it, to bring that light of healing. This is the star, and star talks about healing. I can do this. There's the salamander here, which talks about grounding again, being grounding, being really rooted into, um, sometimes it's complicated to explain. I keep assuming that everybody knows what grounded means. Grounded means to be really, really present in the moment, to really be in your body, to really be here and now, not stuck in our minds, not stuck in the conflicts, not playing again and again and again and again in our minds the scenario of how this should have worked out, or how I think this will work out, or so on, past, future, whatever. Grounded is really being in the present moment. You get that. And with the hermit, there's healing going on, and that healing is going to come up for our actions as well, the king of wands. So watch what your actions are. These people, these fragments of yourself can show up in their um, typical way, but see if your actions are coming from a heart space. Oh yeah, I remember what I wanted to say at the beginning when I stopped. The kings do work from necessity. They represent the needs. Um, the king takes care of the needs of its kingdom, right? It needs to provide. It needs to, like, is that fatherly figure? Is that the ruler? But they represent mastery. So we don't know our needs unless we get triggered. I don't know there's need to go in this way or on this way unless the need appears first. And need can feel like shit in the beginning. Before we familiarize ourselves, before we let go of the shields and we let down the shields and we start embracing these fragmented, and understand, why am I getting aggressive? Why am I getting competitive? Why am I feeling so triggered? And I go into my shell. Once I understand this and I'm bringing that really deep compassion into it, then that's healing, baby. That's healing. That's when the healing happens. We've been through this quite extensively with the Emperor and the Queen of Pentacles. So you understand your advice here. With, like, really, really, it's like fathering and mothering yourself at this point. It's like when you have kids fighting in kindergarten. When you see them start fighting, when you don't think it's going to be a war, but you're coming with from that place of educating a little bit. Okay, I see that you're hungry, baby girl or baby boy, talking to your inner child in this way. I see that you're angry. Yes, of course, you're not supposed to let them bully you, but this is not going to work either, blah blah. How you would deal with a child, deal with yourself in these situations. So yeah, beautifully, because this Five of Pentacles is coming to an end with the world. We have this Ace of Wands, this illumination. We finally understand how to work with this energy. Some of us. Those of us that especially like are acquainted with this energy of really, really feeling completely on the outside. Like not being able to connect with anyone, not being able to find your place in the world, really feeling always like there's no space here. We start understanding how to make space. And we may feel like this because we're rejecting parts of ourselves. We're rejecting whatever feels uncomfortable. Where we like or dislike going for this because it tastes good or because it feels good, and throwing this away because it's too serious, or because it's too dark, or because it's whatever. That's how we are rejecting ourselves here. That's how we get to fragment ourselves. But once we start like welcoming back, there's that poem from Rumi saying that it's a long poem, I don't know it all. But the base idea is like invite all your feelings that is emotional as if they're guests in your house, and be kind to all of them. Allow them to be. Let them come and let them go. Our resistance to things is what hurts more than the things themselves. Like I work so hard to not feel, so to not allow certain parts of my conscious into awareness, that, and I spend so much energy on that, that would be much easier to just like let that come through, have a cry with it, observe it, and let it go. And it does go. Nothing lasts forever. And here, the world, we want this world to come in. The world is a you know what I mean. We want the world is always like graduation. It's an end of a cycle. It's finally like we're done with this shit. We're done with this, and then we're always done with something. Like even when things repeat themselves forever and ever and ever, they're never really the same. There's always different aspect, different flavors. Yes, we replay the same story, but the people change, or some parts of our awareness change, hopefully, most of the time. Okay, let's just get a message from Rumi Oracle, since I just mentioned him. Give some wisdom of the heart. This one feels like Al-Uza, Star of Venus. Let's see what that's talking about. I'm not familiar with this card. That didn't pop up much for me lately, so let's see what's that about. Okay. I am the pure light, my son. I am not a handful of worthless dust. I am not just an empty shell. I am a regal pearl formed in the world. Close your eyes to see and become aware of me. Perceive me with eyes that see the unseen. Come into the mystery to find me. I am a carefree visitor here for you. Oh my God. I just mentioned the poem that was talking about emotions coming in and going as guests in a house. And I feel like this is exactly it. Is these parts of ourselves that we've been rejecting. They are part of us just as much. We're just not acquainted with them. So we give them all these traits. I'm a regal pearl formed in this world. Close your eyes to see and become aware of me. Perceive me with eyes that see the unseen. Come into the mystery to find me. These are our teachers, the people that trigger us, the triggers that show up. They just show us what our deepest wounds really are. And that's how we're going to learn where to focus our healing energy and our work. The star of Venus is the great androgyne, neither solely masculine nor feminine, but an integration of both. The power it bestows is mighty and based utterly in love. When the star seeks out, multiple blessings are bestowed, and our spiritual growth can be accelerated in ways that may quite be quite dazzling and surprising to our more limited mindset and belief system. It makes sense with this whole, I don't know, I just felt there was this connection between mothering and fathering ourselves in a sense. So this integration of both feminine and masculine. Okay. So with this great androgynous integration of the masculine and feminine into oneness, men and women of this beautiful earth become capable of a new consciousness. It is of one based in love, of service to life, of letting go of judgments, stereotypes, and limited belief systems, and of opening up to compassion for all life. As the consciousness is anchored, spiritual growth becomes rapid. This is not necessarily without some bumps and bruises, letting go of all notions of what is, letting go of these patterns. Um, letting go of what it is to be a man or a woman, to be masculine or feminine, letting go of fear of women or men, of emasculation or victimization. This is that whole super masculine, competitive, fightsy energy, and then this is like what's considered to be like more victim mentality, and they come in like quite heavy here. So letting go of our concepts of this really. Great resistance can be evoked within you as an individual and also within the culture around you, which might find your notion of personal spiritual empowerment confronting and challenging to their culture of fear based enslavement of the soul. So you might be challenged by other people with this energy of really confronting and conflict. But we can choose to feed into that conflict, or we can choose to let go, really. What to do then? The star of Venus holds much power and strength. Even a small blessing of her light is more powerful than the fear of thousands, if not millions, of people. She is known for a worthy ally in a battle of any kind, even spiritual battle. You must, however, stay aligned with her way, which is not to fight fear with fear, hate with hate, or anger with anger. So, no more fighting here. Does this mean you should not feel fear, hate, or anger? Of course not. Venus denies no experience. Yes. So let yourself feel whatever you feel. The guidance is not to stop being human. Take the next step into the divine human, into allowing the star blessing, this one here, by into allowing the star blessing to nestle in your heart, create a nest basically in your heart, so you can shift as you feel the feelings, holding them with compassion, then choosing your own truths that resonate at a far more refined vibration. There we go. The rebellious passion of the star of Venus is that she seeks out whomever is ready to know more fully the truth of divine oneness, whether the culture around them can acknowledge them for their own, becoming more enlightened as a blessing or not. It is a divine gift. Nevertheless, how liberating it shall feel to be truly empowered to live life as you feel is truthful, and to feel completely empowered to allow others to do the same with joy in your heart. You understand that everyone is walking on an unfolding path, and that we don't have to understand or justify the path of another to feel peace in our own hearts. If you're stumbling with judgment within yourself, do not fear. The blessing of Venus is coming to you to help you surrender, to help you find your way through so that you can be free now. Your guidance then is to trust your path, trust your evolution, even in the face of those around you reacting to it, so possibly in fear or discomfort. Trusting the paths of others too. For in trust, there is no one path and we are all on it. You do not have to convince anyone of anything. That is not your job. Your job is to embrace your wisdom, embrace your freedom and empowerment to grow spiritually and live your life accordingly. You are becoming, through bestowal of grace, something more of a goddess and a god, of a human and a sacred animal integrated as one. This is sacred alchemy, amplified in the star fires of Venus, who loves you as a brother and sister and honors your soul with her blessing. Shine through, beloved, shine bright. Well, that's amazing. That is a really, really beautiful message and coming right at the right time with this whole conflict energy coming in here. The masculine, the feminine, the abuser, the victim, you know, all these roles that create this perpetual conflict. We need to bring healing into that. I don't really know where Venus is during this full moon. I think she will be in Libra or Scorpio. I'm not really sure. I need to check that out. Sorry about that. But yeah, check out for yourself where Venus is going to be. And it doesn't necessarily need to connect with that, but it might help. You can still connect to the love, that place of love and that shining star of healing that Venus can bring. All right, my darlings. Well, this is our reading for the full moon in Aries on the 13th, and yeah, have a smooth ride with this one. Do take care of yourselves, and yeah, I'll see you here soon.